So yeah, a little bit about myself. From a small town here, Central Ohio, and uh, born and raised here. My wife and I built this house, and so yeah. So a little bit about myself. I didn't really get into drums until I don't know, probably 13 or so. But my earliest memory that I can recall, I was probably I don't know 5 or 6, and my dad had built a studio in his house for a local band called Sage, and they were pretty big, so they would come down there and practice. And uh, one of the days I can't remember. Of course, I was probably 5 or 6, but they left their drum kit out there, so I was out there and got behind the drum kit, and it just kind of drawn me to it. And I remember hitting the snare. I didn't play anything else, but I just remember hitting the snare, and I was like, "Yeah, this is badass. This is cool." So that was my earliest recollection of a drum kit or even wanting to be a drummer. But
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Old Music Matters That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. And join me today, it's Johnny Davidson, fellow drum buddy. How you doing, brother?
what's up, my man?
Not much.
Hey,
How you
this is
doing?
awesome. Thanks for having me on. This is really cool. I've never done this before, but this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I've interviewed a good few people. This is the first time they've actually interviewed somebody. And I saw earlier you were talking about that little poster behind you with the little drums and everything.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, that's the same one I have in my drum covers too. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that from one of my drum students. Their parents got that for me for, I think it was my birthday, but yeah, hopefully they don't watch this and I got that wrong, but I think it was my birthday. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, looks a little bit smaller compared to like mine. I think mine's a little wider, or at least longer in length, I should say.
Yeah, it might be.
Something like that. I'm not too sure, but regardless, still badass nonetheless.
Yeah,
so, how you been?
It's good inspiration,
Yeah. How you been recently? What's new?
Really good, man. Just starting to get back into drum covers. I haven't really done many drum covers for a while, but when it gets cold outside, I don't work outside, so that forces me inside to play some drums. And yeah, starting to get into it. I hopefully get one recorded this weekend, or I guess it's Sunday already. So tonight I'm working on Only by Anthrax. That takes me back quite a while. So I'm trying to work on my double bass. I'm not very good at it, but it's a good song to practice.
Yeah, Charlie Benante's a beast, so good luck to you, man.
Yeah. I need all the luck I can get.
Yeah. All right. Well, Johnny, I want to welcome you to my podcast right here. The way this is going to work is just going to ask you some questions, and I know we've talked back and forth, so hopefully you took some good notes. So be interested to hear more about your story, but both as the drummer, but also as the individual too. So you all ready?
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is fun.
All right. So let's start with the first one right here. I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. I guess how'd you become a drummer?
So yeah, a little bit about myself. From a small town here, Central Ohio, and born and raised here. My wife and I built this house, and so yeah. So a little bit about myself. I didn't really get into drums until I don't know, probably 13 or so. But my earliest memory that I can recall, I was probably I don't know 5 or 6, and my dad had built a studio in his house for a local band called Sage, and they were pretty big, so they would come down there and practice. And one of the days I can't remember. Of course, I was probably 5 or 6, but they left their drum kit out there, so I was out there and got behind the drum kit, and it just kind of drawn me to it. And I remember hitting the snare. I didn't play anything else, but I just remember hitting the snare, and I was like, "Yeah, this is badass. This is cool." So that was my earliest recollection of a drum kit or even wanting to be a drummer. But yeah, I kind of got into some other things, through the years, and I didn't come back to it until probably, I don't know, I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I was always into sports and stuff like that, so it was hard to get into playing drums and stuff because there's only so much time. But yeah, I got into, I don't know, probably, like I said, 12 or 13. When I was in sixth grade, kind of a funny story. Maybe it's what sparked me to become a drummer. Is I tried to, pick drums back up in grade school, in sixth grade, and the music teacher, he didn't like me too well, and I don't blame him. I was kind of a hellion, so it was hard for me to focus, and I was a clown, to be honest with you. But yeah, so in sixth grade, I was trying to learn how to play the bass drum, and dude, I could not read music, and I didn't know, the timing. I was probably hitting on the E or the instead of the downbeat, and he just finally had enough of my crap and said, "All right, Johnny, just stop. If you can't figure out how to play the drums, the bass drum, you might as well just quit." So yeah, that was pretty devastating. I threw my sticks down and walked out in front of the whole class. He embarrassed me in front of everybody, and I probably deserved it, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I was pretty devastated, and pretty much just said, okay, I'm going to stick to baseball. So I pretty much walked away from it. Wasn't really inspired to play the drums, and until I met a friend of mine named Scott Dillon. His whole family, the Dillon family, were all musicians, and his dad was a professional banjo player. His older brother Tommy was a guitar player, and his younger brother Sean, or Tommy's younger brother Sean, was a drummer. So he was a local drummer, really good. And I went over to their house one time, and I walked in the house, and their house was really inspiring, because as soon as you walk in, like, the walls are just full of music. And I remember walking in, and his mom's making these ham and cheese little sliders that were the best. I remember that. And then you walk through the kitchen, and on the right there was a room beside the kitchen, and you could hear Bernie play, their father, and he would be playing a banjo. And so I'd walk in and just kind of watch him, and he'd have the banjo and the cigarette just jamming out. I was like, man, this is really cool, And then I heard, some guitar playing in the bedroom, and that was Tommy. So he was the guitar player, and he was into all the 80s hair metal stuff and, some classic rock. So I was really drawn to the guitar at that time, surprisingly. So I ended up taking a few lessons off of Tommy. But I learned real quick. I had too much energy for guitar, and, I just couldn't figure it out. And, I really struggled with it, to be honest with you. And I think my last lesson, as I was walking out the house, and right before I walked out the door into the garage, their basement steps was to the right. And I just remember hearing this thumping. I mean, it's just pounding, like a ding, 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 ding. It's like, what? So that was my first exposure of Rush. He was playing YYZ on the drums, and I just remember every step down, it was like I'm, going down into this, this cellar, not a cellar, but like a basement, and it was kind of dark, and then it's like every step it got louder and louder, and then you started to get into the, the verses, or the intro, then the verses, and dude, I was like, man, I want to see this. So I walked down the basement, and there he was. There's Sean just jamming away to some Rush and YYZ. And it was funny back then. Of course, we didn't have in-ears, and he had this. I mean, it's just a full PA stack, right on his ear. So I mean, just blaring. I'm like, I'm standing in front of him watching, and it was kind of like the clouds just split, and the angel shone a light on him, and God said it was good. So I was like, dude, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sit and just hit a bass drum with one mallet, in school, which I'm not knocking that, because I wish now that I did stick with it and learned a whole lot more in school, because, being self-taught, there's so many gaps in my playing that I'm actually trying to figure out now. So I'm doing a lot of book work now to kind of fill those gaps that I missed in high school. But yeah, so watching Sean play, it was like, that's what I'm after, So I ended up, taking a few lessons off of Sean, and he pretty much kick-started my desire to play, and that's pretty much how I got into the drums, dude. I mean, it was, back then we didn't have like I'm going to sound really old right now, but back then we didn't have YouTube or the internet, so we had our records and stuff like that, and cassette tapes and stuff that we would listen to, but you really couldn't grasp, the talent unless you saw it personally, like firsthand. And yeah, Sean really, really kickstarted my desire to play, because the local talent in our area, I mean, that was our YouTube. I remember watching Sean play out, and, there's a couple other guys that I really was inspired by. Scott Kane was another local talent. And then Sonny Dotson from Martial Law, which is a pretty big band in our area. But he was the first drummer that I saw sing and play at the same time, use a 5-way independence. And, it wasn't Don Henley, it was the local drummers, that really inspired us all. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And, I'll remember that forever. And I'm grateful for all of, the local drummers and everything that Sean's done. And, he still plays out too. And, it's really cool to be included in, the local talent too. And I try to pass that on. So I guess it's kind of come full circle, because now I'm a drum instructor, and that inspiration just comes from my memories with Sean. As he's inspired me, I kind of want to pass that on and inspire other drummers. And that's why I do it. I started giving drum lessons once we finished building the house. I built a woodshed and started giving drum lessons, and I was up to 17 students every week. And of course, I'm stuck in the corporate world, so I don't get home until 6, leave at 6 in the morning. I've got an hour drive to work, an hour drive back home. So that's where I do most of my learning, really, is just, listen to music on repeat. If I'm doing a drum cover, it's going to be on repeat. And, I kind of get sick of it. So I'm like, I got to finish this drum cover so I can listen to something else. But yeah, so I'd get home at 6 o'clock, and I'd have students waiting on me. I was up to 17 students every week. And it got to be a lot. And so I kind of cut down. Now I do it every other week. But yeah, I've got a few students that are really excelling, more than a few. They're really excelling in school band, and they do ensemble, drum, snare solos, pep band, and stuff like that. So that's really inspiring. It's kind of like, it inspires me to do better too. When these kids count on me to, do the best I can. I'm not like a professional, teacher or drummer, and I'm self-taught. So, but there really wasn't anybody in our area to, give drum lessons. So I thought, well, I can do what I can. And, hopefully that's enough to kickstart their career in drumming. So, sorry, that was kind of a long answer, dude.
I was say, you wrote that all in your notes? Man, that was like writing a book right there.
Oh, that's not even half of it, man. I'll probably send you a link to I guess it is pretty much a book. It's 12 pages of more detail, but in a roundabout, I mean, that's the gist of it, the 3,000-foot view. How I
say, like, the Dillon house was like walking into the Cave of Wonders, and like just seeing like all the treasures of past glory with all the records and everything too, with like hit bands like Black Sabbath and even like Rush, what you got hanging on the wall back there.
Right.
Have your students addressed you as the professor at all?
Address me as the professor?
Yeah.
No, I'm not worthy, brother.
I'm not worthy of the title.
Yeah, no, man. I'm inspired by the professor. I ain't no professor, that's for sure.
Did you say like he's your first influence, or was there like many others who influenced your drumming style?
Yeah, as far as my drumming style, man, I listened to everything growing up, and being in a few bands, we never were good enough to play Rush, to be honest with you. I mean, and they weren't really into the prog stuff. So, my influence was, in the 80s, of course, was all the hair band stuff, Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue. And, we got into Poison, of course, and, Warrant. Winger was a big one, back in the day. And then, of course, I'd listen to Rush every now and again too. But to be honest with you, dude, Rush was just so cerebral. I mean, it was like at my age, I didn't get it, man. I really didn't get it. And, I'm just being candid, but, I obviously loved Neil Peart. He was a huge inspiration. It's like I had all his VHS tapes and stuff growing up, or not all of them. The Work in Progress was the one there, but I've got some other VHS tapes from back in the day, from like Tommy Aldridge and, Dave Weckl, just drummers that I could never emulate, but I was obviously inspired to watch, so that, yeah. So as far as inspiration, yeah, I remember the first song I learned was probably something from Bad Company, I bet. Feel like making love, maybe. But what would be? I remember jamming to "Kickstart My Heart." Tommy Lee was awesome. So, but yeah, like a lot of different, like a melting pot of inspirations, through the years and growing up and stuff. But
I think the song that always got my dad was "Looks Like Kill" from Motley Crue, and then maybe "Shot the Devil" like number 2. So
yeah, that was a good one.
I think I actually remember the metal band was doing a drum cover, or not drum cover. They were doing a cover of "Looks Like Kill." So obviously it's in a death metal sort of style too, but it's still the Motley Crue song. So it's a little bit funny.
Oh,
but
yeah, they were fun to play. Yeah, Dr. Feelgood was another one I loved jamming to, and some wild, what's the other popular one?
I'm trying to remember. I was listening to the other day. It was like
Girl,
piece of your action. That's what it was.
What was it?
From Motley Crue, "Piece of Your Action."
Okay.
That was another one I was really like listening to. That they play a lot on the radio, so pretty familiarized with it.
Yeah. That was some good music, good times, and yeah, different era, that's for sure.
Did the Dylan family, did they introduce you to the thrash scene? I think you probably mentioned it in your story there, but did they introduce you to like Slayer, Metallica, and all those other guys?
Not really. No, they weren't. I'm not gonna say they weren't into that, because I didn't know them, in that kind of depth. You know what I mean? But I know when they played out, it was always like the heavier rock. You know what I mean? That they played. I mean, they would play like a lot of Van Halen and stuff. Sean would do that intro to "Hot for Teacher," and everybody went nuts. But they played, back then it was a lot of the hair metal stuff, and they were good at it, So yeah, they played a lot of that stuff. But I didn't really get into the thrash scene, to be honest with you.
That comes later.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. We'll get to that in a little bit, as well as your bands too. But I guess first off, talk about your drum set. Is it nearby by any chance, or is it in a separate room?
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be annoying if I take the phone over there, but I can go over to the drum set if you want to check it out.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Just hope we don't lose connection.
Oh, that's true. Let's see. This is I guess I can give you a little tour of the woodshed, but this is where my parents will wait. This is like a little waiting room out here, and then go through the door here. Oh, here's Veronica. Can you say hi? Hi, Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
I can always give her 5 when I start a drum cover. So This is the first room we go into is what I call the rudiment room. So all my students, we go through here, and we've got some drum pads. Kind of see. We'll set up.
Glow makes it seem like it's a welcome to hell sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. And that light, I don't know why. I like colored lights. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
And I think you gave it the wrong impression with a red light too. I mean.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I didn't think about that, man. Now I got to change them. Now I got thanks, dude. Thanks. Right. Yeah. But yeah, so I've got all the rudiments, all the 40 rudiments here in the 5 different families, and I just keep track of their tempos. So every week we try or every other week now we try and bump up our tempos on our rudiments. So, and then this is the drum room. See very well. I'll turn my lights on. I'll turn these lights on for you. Sorry if this is all shaky and stuff.
Hang it in there.
There we go. I got these lights from Home Depot, and they're cordless lights. You can kind of see, but they kind of have a soft. They're not very sharp, so they kind of give you a little bit of a soft edge. But this is the drum kit. I'll show you. One last room I have in here is the vocal booth. Here, so I'll do
vocals.
I don't sing. I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. There's some good drummers that are good singers that are drummers, but yeah. So I'll do like little recordings and stuff for like. Actually, my son did a vocal cover I have on my YouTube channel. So yeah, I'll just
That's
do
killer.
some vocals and stuff in here.
Is that a Audio-Technica AT2020?
Oh, dude, I am not that technical. This is.
Looked like it too, so I think it's the same one I'm using right now on our little show right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a Sterling on it. It came in a pack, so it was probably pretty cheap. I can't afford that good stuff that you're using, man.
Actually, this was $100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll put my foot in my mouth again.
Don't judge a book by its cover, as we like to say.
Yeah, that's what they say. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this clamp so I can clamp my phone to the... All right, so there's a little bit of a story behind this drum kit. I had many drum kits through the years, but so this one I bought. Actually, I didn't buy this one. It's a long story, but I'll try and cut it short. So I originally wanted to get a new drum kit after, I had this big 13-piece. It was like a Peter Criss replica, like Phil Collins, all concert toms, 13, like 6, and it was like wrapped around me to I think a 20 inch that was actually suspended on my right side. And then I had these two huge floor toms, like 22 and a 24. And it was just, it was stupid, to be honest with you. It was just ridiculous. But, back in the, those days, the big drum kits were the thing, So, yeah, I ended up selling that because it was just too hard to truck around and load in and load out. So got rid of that. And I thought, I'm going to work at a factory just out of high school. And, I tried the college thing, and that attempt didn't work out too well for me. But since baseball was pretty much over, I had to get a job. And I ended up working at a factory for a year. And the whole intent was to work there just long enough to save enough money to buy a proper drum kit, something that was more professional than what I had before. So I ended up working a year, saved my money, went up to Lentines in Akron. They had a really cool looking Mapex Mars. Mars aren't top of the line nowadays, but they were pretty good drums back then. They had a 5 or 6 piece on the floor, and I still wanted a bigger drum kit, so I ended up ordering 2 extra floor toms. Or no, it was a third rack tom and 1 or 2 extra floor toms. I can't remember. So anyway, I took the 5 piece, they got on the floor, ordered the 3 extra toms, and played a few gigs with it. Couple weeks. It was funny. One of our sound guy, he came up to me and after the gig, and he's like, dude, why do you have 2 separate color drums or like toms? This was after I got the other 2 toms, of course. So I started looking at it, and yeah, they were snow white because I was inspired by Lars. I liked that white kit that he had with the black hardware. But it was supposed to be like pure snow white. And then the other toms I ordered were like a cream off-white color. And I was like, oh, dude, no, I cannot believe this is happening. So, yeah, I was kind of upset. But I ended up throwing the kit in the car and went up to Lentines like the following weekend and told them, I was like, dude, you gave me 2 different color toms. So they were really cool about it. I don't think they're in business anymore, but they were really cool about it. And they said, man, we apologize. Just pick any drum kit you want off the floor and we'll just trade it equal, and you don't have to pay anything more for it, just whatever you want. So I had my eye on this when I was picking out the white kit, but this was more expensive. It was more expensive than the Mapex kit. So I was like, I know exactly what drum kit I want. So I was like, okay, I want the Yamaha Maple Custom in transparent red. And that's what I got, dude. And I've been playing the same kit ever since. I've never had another kit. And that was in 94. I got this kit June 8th in 94. It was like $2,000 back then. So that's the story. You shouldn't ask me questions anymore because I just go on this tangent. But I know that's your job.
Oh, this is some good entertainment value. That's for sure. It's all good.
Yeah, man, I'm a goof, dude. I hope I don't ruin your podcast, but anyway.
So you probably wouldn't be the first. So.
Good.
Hey, you're good. You're good. It's always good to get these stories out too.
I like sloppy seconds.
That's also good getting the stories out as well. So yeah.
So Yamaha Maple Custom. I've got a 10x10. If you can see, 10x10 rack tom on the left, and then this is a 12x10, and then on my left side I've got this is a 13x11, and then a 16x16 floor tom on my right. The kick is 22 by 16. So I know I'm probably saying all the dimensions backwards, but that's just, it makes sense to me to say the width and then the depth. I don't know why the industry says it the other way, but that's how I interpret everything. So 14, I think this is the 5.5. This is the Big Black Bob. It is actually called the Big Black Bob. It's a pork pie drum.
Make drum go boom.
Yeah. Yep. So the shells on my rack toms, they're all 6-ply. The kick is 10-ply, all maple. That's the drum kit. As far as the cymbals go, I don't have these memorized, but this is a 16-inch EFX K Custom. And then I really love these hybrids. Here, spin that around here for you. Yeah, this is a hybrid. Of course, I need to get it replaced. It's already cracked. I've got some of my students and myself. I don't play with the best technique. I just wail on them. But yeah, this is a 18-inch K Custom hybrid. This should be a 19-inch. Yep, 19-inch K Custom hybrid here. Hand hammered 19-inch China. But I fell in love with this. I think Wackerman, the two brothers, but for Revenge, he uses this, and I really love that sound with that hand hammered China, ultra hand hammered China. This particular ride here is it's a 21-inch A Sweet ride. And I use this because it's kind of washy. It doesn't have the definition, but it just depends on what song I'm covering. Like for that Rush drum cover project, I actually used a 21-inch. It was a rock ride. It was really heavy and had definition from the bell to the bow all the way out to the edge. It was like really fine definition and just ping. It's not the ping ride, of course, but it had that cut that Neil had. So I really love using that for. I'm doing some ride definition type stuff that I want to try and articulate each note. I'll pull that rock ride out. This crash over here to my right. You can't see it. Anyway, this crash over here to my right is a 17-inch custom fast crash. It's a K Custom fast crash. And somebody on my YouTube channels saw that I was needing a new crash. His name's James Connor. Check him out on YouTube also. I think he's on TikTok as well. But yeah, just a super cool dude. And he sent me this fast crash, and he also sent me, I can't remember. I might have to edit that out. I think it was just the fast crash that he sent me. So I'm going to give this crash to my drummer of the year. So I do an award every month, actually, for my drum students. I'll do like drummer of the month. And, they'll get like a gift card to our local music shop, because shop local. Metronome Music, check them out online too. They do a lot of work online. But yeah, so anyway, drummer of the year is going to get this cymbal here, just because, it was given to me. So I just try and pass it on and hopefully, again, inspire some of these young drummers to keep playing. Lastly, I've got some remote hats down here. These were my Sabians that I had on my old kit before I went to Zildjian, and so I just use them for a remote hat. But my main hats are 15-inch New Beats. So I like the 15-inch because they're a little bit more washy. I don't know if you can tell very much, but there is a little bit of definition, or not really definition, but more of a washiness to the 15-inch. And it also brings the edge of my hat a little bit closer to the edge of my snare. And that's kind of how I like my hi-hat set up. I like the edge to be right next to my snare. 14-inch would be a little bit farther back, and I'd probably just miss the edge, and I still do that though. But oh damn, I need some new sticks. But anyway, what else? All Evans heads. I got the EC2 frosted. So I went with the frosted versus the clear or the coated. It's kind of like in the middle of the two. So you get a little bit more of that control and a little bit more warmness. So these actually sound a lot like the classic rock drums, like more of a thuddy sound. Not the attack that you would get maybe on a clear head, but not as soft and controlled as you would get like on a coated head. All G1s on the bottom. I've got Evans EMAD on my kick, and then on the batter head, and then on the Rezo head, it's got I ordered a guy online. His name's Alan Walker. He does custom drum heads. So I had him make a custom drum head from the Time Machine, from Neil Peart's Time Machine drum kit, from his kick drum, his Rezo head. So he made one for me, and that's what I threw on this. Just, I don't know, inspiration again. But yeah, buddy, I think little stack. This is a little, I think 10-inch, 10-inch effect stack. I've got that pretty tight, and then I've got a 10-inch K Custom Dark Splash here. So I try to put as much stuff around me, and then I just swing my hands, and normally I'll hit something because there's just so much.
You're about to hit something eventually. Yeah.
So, yeah, drum mics. I've got the 57, the workhorse on the snare batter, and then I've got another drum mic on the bottom. I believe it's a Sennheiser, just to pick up those snares a little bit. I'll slide up the snares if I need to. These are all Sansom. Again, it was all in the kit, like $300 for all these drum mics. On the earlier Rush covers that I did, maybe some early drum covers before I bought these, I had 57s on everything. Can't go wrong with a 57, right? But,
have you ever used an electric drum set before? Do you use it in your teachings at all?
So no, not my teachings, but after I was in a band called Lemongrass, and we were pretty raunchy band. So I needed some church. So I ended up playing drums in church after that band, and I played drums for the church for 10 years probably. And they had the Roland TD12, I believe, but it was like the thicker shells. It wasn't the thin shells, it was actually like thicker shells. So I don't know if that's a 10 or a 12. Maybe you could answer that one, excuse me. But yeah, so I did play Roland mesh head kit and played that for like 10 years. And it was actually a good sounding kit, all except for the cymbals. And I'm sure it's different now, but back then the cymbals were just, it worked, but I didn't really care for the sound and the ride and stuff. I didn't really care for that, but the kick, man, that thing was always thumping. The toms sounded really good. I had to get used to the feel of the mesh kit. Oh my gosh, the rebound on that's definitely a different feel. So I had to get used to that, and over time you get used to it. But I was an 80s drummer, so I just wailed on everything, and even on the electronic kit. I'm up there at church, I'm just like doing this. I'm like, what are you doing? It's an electric kit. So yeah, I looked ridiculous, but it was fun. I played.
Yeah, I gotta douse you with holy water, thinking you're possessed or something, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, they're probably afraid I would just like explode and burst in flames or something. But that was a fun time, man. I met a lot of good musicians in church, and a friend of mine named Jimmy Warner, we started a band. He was a guitar player in the church, and we were able to open up for Kenny Wayne Shepherd at a Mansfield rib cook-off. So we were able to open up with him with a few other bands. It wasn't just us. So I'm not trying to puff my chest out or anything like that, but it was a good experience. He was able to meet Kenny. I had to leave. We had something going on, but I couldn't stay and meet him. But yeah, that was a fun experience to meet Kenny. And then Lemongrass, we played at a corporate event, and we were on a side stage, and Blake Shelton was on the main stage. So that was really cool. Even though we were a side stage, it was really cool to be, at the same location as Blake. And that was before The Voice, though. So he wasn't very big at all. So nobody really knew him unless you liked country music. But yeah, like a year or two later, he was on The Voice, and then he just exploded. I'm like, dude, I played for him on a side stage. So in my mind, I make it bigger than what it really is, but it was still cool. So sorry, I digress all the time. So yeah, what was you asking? Oh, the electronic kit. Yep, I did play on electronic kit. It was cool. I wouldn't mind getting the electronic kit, now, because I know the technology's phenomenal. I watched one episode of The Voice, and I don't know if it was Chris Coleman that maybe his band guest appeared on it, and he was up front stage, this purple Roland electronic kit, and dude was going off. And I was like, man, that kit sounds insane. Sounds really good. And the cymbals sounded, it was awesome. So yeah, after he played that, I was like, man, I might want to try another kit. So I noticed you play electronic kit, right?
Yeah, I roll with a Roland TD25K. I've been rolling with that for a few years. Obviously, when you blast beating too much, you obviously got to start changing the heads on the snare.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I've not changed them yet on what I consider the toms in this case. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because the church kit, they had a felt beater on their kick, which is a no-no, because over time that heats up the mesh and end up melting the hole into the mesh of the kick, the head of the kick. So I think they ended up going back to maybe a wood beater or something like that. Or matter of fact, I think you can just turn it around, but we never turned it around. I think that's how it went down. I could be wrong, but I know that they had a felt beater on it, and it melted a hole through it. So yeah, you do have to be careful with that, but they'll last a lot longer than, regular heads on an acoustic kit.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I guess jumping into the next question right here, what is it that you loved most about drumming? Because it seems like your teacher kind of humiliated you, and it seemed like that was kind of the end of the story. It was kind of like what happened in Whiplash. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but
oh yeah, it wasn't that bad, but yeah, I felt like that,
along those lines. But regardless, I guess what is it that you love most about drumming after you kind of had that epiphany moment walking down into the cellar door?
Yeah, man, it was what I love most about it is I love it when people say I can't do something. I don't know why, but that's all the fuel I need to prove them wrong. So I won't stop. I'm relentless. Like Neil Peart said, he wasn't a good drummer, but he was relentless. So he just kept going. He just, wouldn't stop. And I guess I have a little bit of that. I'm not trying to compare myself to the professor at all, but as far as what drove me to play is, once I saw Sean play, I was like, that's different than just hitting a bass drum. When I wanted to play drums, I didn't want to sit here on a snare drum, which I should have. Now I know I should have stuck with it. But, that drives me, I and then also, teaching, being an instructor, I always kind of go back to that moment, the way that teacher made me feel. And I never want any student to feel that way. So that's pretty heavy. It's always on my mind, to, be the best encourager that I can, if that's a word. But, just try and inspire kids and, try and make a difference in a positive way, So I do try and be positive with them. But, what I love most about playing, though, is basically, I don't know, probably just the problem solving. I look at drums as, I don't know, like say you're learning a drum cover, and you can pick a drum cover that's maybe a 50 piece puzzle, Maybe it's not very hard, but at the end, it's still, you did this, and it's impressive. So like I think of like what's the song I just did? Creep by Radiohead. Easy song, 50-piece puzzle, you know. And then I compare that to like La Via Strangiato by Rush. You know, that was probably a 50,000 piece puzzle. Now I've got 48. I had 48 hours of seat time just back here woodshedding for 48 hours trying to get that one as close to note for note as I could. But that was so rewarding solving that problem, you know, because I couldn't play it. So, I mean, that's the problem, right? If you can't play something, that you got to figure out why. And then you just sit down and you got to be relentless and play until you do figure it out. And, I approach drum covers on a note for note type basis. Like, I mean, it's good to jam to songs. I'm not knocking that at all. I don't mind that. And there's a time for it too. And in my case, I could put a song on and just jam to it. But if I don't play it note for note, I feel like I'm missing out on a free drum lesson. You know what I mean? So I do try and play everything note for note as I possibly can. That way I do get that free drum lesson, and I'll figure something new out that I didn't know before. Because if I'm just jamming on a song, I feel like I'm playing what I already know. You know what I mean? If I'm just jamming, I'm just playing what I already know. But if I try and learn something note for note, I mean, it's frustrating and it's time consuming. But I feel like, hey, that's something I've never tried before. Or, maybe this figure is a little bit different. He plays a diddle on the hand because there's no accent. So he must flip the lead hand or something, so you start learning some cool things when you take the time, if you have the time and patience to learn it note for note. So that's what I love most about drumming is just the problem solving, because I can come down here and or if I'm stressed out or something, drums don't hit back. Like Bruce Lee said, boards don't hit back. That was a terrible one. Terrible.
So like, be water, my friend, or something like that.
Yes, exactly, dude. Yeah, Bruce Lee is the best philosopher. Be like water. So, yeah. Or like, it's just like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all that heavenly glory. Very good.
It's like you try like an Indian accent next, be like, I don't want to go to Los Angeles or something like that.
I'm the most terrible. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank.
No, you're good. You got a little comedy every now and again too, so it's all good.
My CPU just went overload.
You fried the system too. Rebooting.
Yeah, right.
You have to reboot.
Right, yeah. Reboot. All right, I'm good.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, so that's what I love about drums, dude. I mean, just the physicality of it too. I mean, I guess if you want to look at it, why I stopped playing guitars, because it was just, to me, it was boring. And it was a little bit more cerebral, and I didn't really want to think that much to learn how to, play the chords and learn my scales. I mean, I just wanted to bash things, dude. I just want to play a beat, So that's pretty much why I picked drums. To me, it's obviously a very physical instrument. So I'm not really a gym type of guy. So I don't like to go to a gym and just like walk on a treadmill, because I feel like that's not productive. What's the right word? I don't want to insult anybody either who does that, because
you lift, bro, that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I feel like I get the exercise and I'm productive. So I'm honing a skill too. So I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone when I come down here and play, and I love to sweat when I play. That's the other thing. I've got a heater down here on my right, and that thing is on full blast. So when I start sweating, I feel like I play the most loose, the more relaxed I play when I'm really sweating it out. And so, yeah, it's good exercise for me, but I digress again. So what were we talking about?
Actually, we were going to get into COVID a little bit too. So sorry to kind of switch it from a funny, happy mood to now a serious kind of tone. But I guess how bad did COVID impact you, your teaching, and I guess family-wise and everything else?
Yeah, that's a touchy subject because everybody's got different experiences and different opinions. And, it's like it's almost as bad as talking about politics nowadays, as talking about COVID. But for the most part, everybody has different experiences, but we were blessed not to be impacted so much. And I didn't really change my schedule with students. I just left it up to them, their decision, if they were worried about coming here and sharing the headphones and stuff. I did disinfect everything, did my best to mitigate any exposure, but I tried not to let it change much in our little bubble. We had our bubble in our family and stuff, and we got it. I think I had it twice. The first time I got it was pretty bad, but no worse than like a bad flu in my case. But there were some weird side effects. I don't know if this has happened to you or anything, but my wife used to never get sick, but she got COVID, and not very bad, like a mild COVID. But after that, it's like she gets as sick as any normal person now. So she gets as sick as I did. Well, I'm not normal, but she gets as sick as most normal people. But we were pretty fortunate. I was able to work from home, so that was cool. As soon as 5 o'clock rolled around, I was sitting right here playing drums, so I didn't have that 1 hour drive back home before I could sit behind the kit. So that was actually pretty cool. A friend of mine who plays, he plays professionally down in Florida. He does the wedding scene down like on Sanibel Island and some of the Fort Myers Beach and all that. But his name's Steve Forrest, and we played in a band in high school. So that band was called Pillbox, and we played a lot of the 90s stuff, 90s rock. And anyway, so he moved down to Florida, and he's making a living down there. But when COVID hit, dude, it shut down everything. So you can imagine, like, entertainment, the entertainment industry, basically, all the musicians, dude, they were shut down. So that was his only income. So he ended up, doing a lot of stuff online, like Skype, what's the word? He did a lot of stuff on Skype. I don't know what the hell. But yeah, he was really good as far as, guitar playing and stuff like that. So he kind of supplemented his income by doing little concerts. How did I not think of the word concert? But we did a collaboration a few times, which was really cool. That's on my YouTube channel as well. So that was interesting. I've never done something like that before. But as far as, getting hit very hard by COVID, we were pretty fortunate. So.
That's good to hear. And I guess, did you have to go online in order to do your teachings? Like use Skype or Zoom or anything like that?
No, I do everything else. I do all my teaching here in the woodshed. So, all my students would come to me. At the beginning, before I built this, I did go to their houses and give lessons. But once I got the house finished, I went ahead and built this studio, the woodshed, and started giving lessons here. So, the only video lessons I would do is if like a student couldn't make it, or if they're sick, or if they're working on a drum cover and they can't figure out a part, I'll just throw the phone up right here and just show them how to play the part and then send them the video. But I don't do any remote lessons. No.
It's probably a big difference, because I think some of the ones I have seen, but it may have been along lines of like doing drum lessons and stuff like that too. But they said it was pretty hard, because I guess there was a lag between what one side was hearing and then the other side was doing. So unfortunately, when you're trying to tell them to stop and be like, screw up that one part right there, they're probably still playing. They probably can't hear you too well.
Right. I didn't think about
that. Mess. So you can see what I mean too. So, but it's good to see you made it through, Johnny. So it's good to see you and your family are doing well.
Yeah, we were fortunate.
I would say I did have it once, and I tried actually hopping on the drums the one time to see if you could like sweat it out and maybe get the heart pumping and everything too, maybe to make you feel a little bit better. And I just couldn't. I mean, I was just that fatigued. I was trying both throwers, no guts, no glory, and I just couldn't do it. So I was like, I'll just go to bed.
You need all the energy you can get, man, when you're wailing like that.
Actually, it wasn't too bad. I wasn't wailing too much. I was just trying to ease into it.
Gotcha.
And the body just said, nope, we just can't do it this time. So we're shutting down for the night.
Yeah.
Actually, I did wake up with a fever that night. I had to put on my sweatpants and just pull the covers up and everything, just create friction underneath the covers. So
Gotcha. Yeah, sweat it out. That's the best way to do it. Turn the heat up in the house, and you can lay on the couch and cover yourself with multiple blankets and try to just wait it out too. You know, I
So
try and
that
take
you turn the shower into a sauna.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. But I'll if I feel like I always know when I'm getting sick, there's like a little tickle in my throat, and I just try and like um, take a lot of like vitamin C. Like Emergency is a good one. Drink a lot of that stuff, and it seems to help. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yep. That's good to have you around for the ride, Johnny. So it'd be nice to get to know you a little bit more too, because are you part of our drum tuber community or any of our drumming communities?
I just saw the invite. I'll definitely join here tonight. Yep. I've been working on that drum cover pretty much all morning, so I haven't got a chance to check it out yet. But yeah, I'll definitely join. It's a cool thing you got going on there, dude.
Actually, that was the drum tuber was actually Ash Wells who put that whole thing together. I'm just kind of tagging along. I do the podcasting side too, and I know Drumman 190 used to do his own little podcast, but he was pulling like people who had experience. They played in like various bands, for instance. I think they did have Dave Weckel on it.
And wow.
I don't know about Dave Weckel. I know there was another one, Thomas Lang. They did have Thomas Lang.
Okay.
They haven't done it recently.
Big name, man. That's awesome. Good for him.
He hasn't done it recently. I think he's doing more drum covers these days. In fact, I haven't really heard too much from him outside maybe a couple posts here and there every now and again saying like, hey, there's a new drum cover for you guys. So not sure what he's doing, but he's living, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. You gotta enjoy what you're doing, right?
Absolutely too. But I guess in terms of the gear, I know you mentioned about the microphones, but I guess what do you use to record for your drum covers? Is it all for that iPad right there?
No, this I use basically for I don't know if I can pull up. I'll have my drum charts here, like if I do play a live show or something like that, which I don't much at all. The only live show I've done here recently, I've done a couple. My son, who's in a band called Headspace, boom, represent. So they had an opportunity to play here locally, but their headliner dropped out. So it was like they had no chance of covering a full night. So it was like 3 nights before the gig, I got the call from another local friend of mine who's a guitar player and lead singer for Yellow Number 5, and we just kind of threw up a band together, and that was the only time I've played in like 10 years. The only time I've played out 10 years. So I threw the charts on this so I could kind of get through the songs because again it was like 3 nights before the gig. And then I played a wedding in Put-in Bay area up north here in Ohio. My friend Steve Forrest, who plays in Florida, he had that wedding booked in Florida. Well, with the hurricane that went through Fort Myers area, it destroyed everything. So he rescheduled the wedding, or not him, but the wedding moved up here to Ohio for some reason. Apparently they were from here, so he needed a drummer to sit in for him to finish this wedding, to play this wedding up here in Ohio, and I used it for that as well. But yeah, I don't really use it for much, if anything else. For drumming, I'll put the metronome on for our drum lessons. So when my students obviously playing with metronome, I'll throw that on there. What else do I have on? 4-score. So this is my drum chart for 4-score. I kind of made these up myself. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet. I probably can't see it, so this might not be worth talking about. But yeah, I just use it for drum charts and miscellaneous stuff like that. Drum charts, metronome, so on. So I'll take you back to the control room. Well, I call it the control room, the waiting room where the parents sit, and I'll show you my recording gear. Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.